today what we're gonna do is talk about angles, and when we have an angle, okay, part of an angle is a ray, and so to start talking about this, we have to talk about rays. So from here out to that extended line, that's a ray. It starts at this point and keeps going forever and ever. And let's say that we had an A here, a B here, and a C here, okay? And they asked you to name that ray. When you name a ray, you have to name it with its endpoint, okay? So you would name this as A and then any other point on that ray. So we could call this ray AB like that, okay? If I called it ray BC, let's say, okay, that would be the ray from here going on forever, okay? So lines and line segments, we use the endpoints and it didn't matter which one, or I shouldn't say lines, you could use any 2 points. Line segments, you have to use the endpoints. And with a ray, you have to use that first endpoint. And then you can name it with any other point on that ray, okay? So let's go here. Now another thing that you can have is something called opposite rays. So here's what I mean by that. Ray JK starts at J and goes forever off to the right, okay? Ray JH starts at J and keeps going through H on the left. Now, ray JK, I would name like that. And then ray JH, even though it's going to the right, we still put the ray above it pointing to the left. No matter what direction the ray is in, our arrow always points to the left, okay? So now what we're gonna talk about is how do we name the sides of an angle and how do we name the vertex of an angle? So let's say we have this for our angle, okay? An angle is just where it has this is called the vertex, right here. And then these two are called the sides, okay? And one of the things they're gonna ask you for today is they're gonna say to name the sides and name the vertex. The vertex is simply the point at which those two rays take off. So your vertex, that's one of the things they'll ask you for today is to just name the vertex. The vertex is just A, okay? When they ask you to name the sides, you name the sides as rays. And you say this was A, B, C. What letter has to come first? A, but then you could name it AB or AC. Either one is fine. You kind of have the choice there, okay? Then if I go to this side, let's say there's a point D on here as well as a point E on here. What's one way you can name that side? This one here. AE, and then you would put a ray above it. Now sometimes today you'll see this in our examples we go over together. They'll go right to where you have something like this, okay? And this point might be C, this might be A, and this might be B. And they're asking you to name the sides of this angle right here, okay? When you look at this doesn't look like a ray, it looks like a segment, but when you name it, you still name it with a ray. If you named it with a segment, I wouldn't mark that wrong, but even though it's a segment, you always name angle sides as rays, okay? So now let's go down and we're gonna talk about 3 different ways to name an angle. So when you go to name an angle, if there is only one angle drawn, which in this case there is, the easiest way to name an angle like this is you can name it as angle and then just put the vertex, okay? So you can say angle X. Another way that you can name this is sometimes your angles will have a number inside of them. And if that's the case, that is a shortcut way to name that angle. So this would be angle 3, okay? And then you have to name the sides of the angle, okay? Or no, sorry, I'm gonna go off one more thing. A third way to name an angle is you can start at one of the sides and you can name one point on this side. So we could say angle Y. Then the vertex has to be in the middle, X. And then you can name one point on this side, which is Z. Are you paying attention, Quinn? I would be, okay? Now, another way to name this is you could start on this side and you could name angle Z, X, Y. X has to go in the middle. That's super important. So those are 4 different ways to name the same entire angle, okay? Now, unfortunately, we can't always use this to name an angle. The only time we can name an angle with just the vertex is if there's just a single angle drawn. Like if you guys look down here, do you guys see how there's one angle right here? There's a second angle right here, and then there's the entire angle. There's 3 different angles named with or drawn with that same vertex. So if I said to you guys, find angle Q, you wouldn't know if I meant this one, or the whole one. So because of that, you have to use 3 letters whenever you have an angle that has more than one angle drawn there. So if I said, okay, draw or tell me what the name of this upper angle is, can anyone use 3 letters and tell me one way to name this? Angle PQS, very good. And you put the angle in front of it. What's one way to do the bottom one? SQR, very good, or RQS. Remember, Q has to be in the middle. And then the entire angle, how could we name that? PQR, very good. Notice in all of these, Q is in the middle, all right? So now let's go here. This is pretty obvious, but you can have an angle and they'll ask you to name a point in the interior of the angle. Interior means inside. So like S and R are in the inside of that angle. If they ask you to find a point in the exterior of the angle, it means the outside of it. So like O and P are exterior points. And then if they ask you to name a point on the angle, that would be N, M, and Q, okay? All right, so now it says use the figure at the right to answer these questions. So the first one says name the vertex of angle 4. So here's angle 4. If it helps you kind of, draw over it or highlight it or something like that. But what would the vertex of that angle be? U. It's just that point right there that the rays take off. Very good. Then the next question asks us to name the sides of angle 3. Okay, so angle 3 starts here. So sides we list as, do you remember what I said? You name them as rays. So how could I name this? Yeah, ray XW, and then you put that ray above it, okay? X has to come first. When I name this, do you guys get it would be XU? Okay. There's a question like this on the quiz, and a lot of people get this part wrong. So when you name a ray, you start at the vertex, and this is XW, this is XU. Okay? Then we're gonna look at what is another name for angle 2? So to realize what angle 2 is, this is the vertex of angle 2, so it would go like this. That's angle 2, okay? It says write another name for angle 2. First of all, could I name this angle angle Y? No, because isn't there an angle here that has Y? There's here has Y as a vertex, this has Y as a vertex, as well as this one does. So there's 4 of them there that have that. So I can't say angle Y, so that means I have to use 3 letters. Does anyone see a way I could answer that? Yes. U, say that one more time. UYX, or XYU. Y has to be in the middle. Okay? So UYX or XYU. Okay? Then it says, what is another name for angle UXY? UXY. So angle UXY is going to start at U, go through to X, and then go through Y. So it's this angle, UXY. What would be an easy way to name that? YXU for sure. Or you can go angle 1. Yes, so YXU, or that 1 is there so that we name it. Okay? I know we're struggling to stay awake, but try your best, okay? All right, so the next one says to use this right here and name all the angles that have B as a vertex. B as a vertex. So this would be 1, and then this would be another. So this one as well as that one. In this course, we don't talk about straight lines as being angles. So what we have to do is figure out, how can I name this angle right here? What's the easiest way? Angle 1, right? Or angle ABD, or angle DBA, okay? I'm gonna do 1, just that's the easiest. How could I name this one? Angle 2 would be the easiest. Or I could name it angle DBC or CBD. That would work too. All right. One thing, when I copied this diagram, it distorted. So this probably doesn't look like a straight line, this whole thing, but it's supposed to be. So try to think about this as a straight line, okay? The next one asks for the sides of angle 3. So angle 3, so it would be C, and then angle 3 goes out here and goes up here, okay? Name the sides. So, I kind of covered these up, but this was a C, right? And then, how can I name this ray? C, B, or CA? Do you guys know that? So sides, we do like CA or CB. And then this side I kind of covered up too, but this is CE. Can I name that EC, or do I have to do CE? Yes, very good. Okay. Then we're going to go to, what is another name for angle GHL? So if we copy that, GHL. What would be an easy way to name that? Angle 7. That would be your easiest, okay? And then it says name a point in the interior of angle DBK. DBK. So here's D, there's B, and just think of this as a straight line. So it's this whole angle, okay? What's a point in the middle? Yeah, E is in the inside or interior of that is point E. You wouldn't name any of these points because they're actually on the angle, okay? So point E. All right, then what we're gonna do is I'm gonna get you guys a protractor. So give me 1 second to do that. And we're gonna measure a few angles today. Now, everybody's protractor is going to have a spot on it that looks like this. So if you have your protractor like this, okay, everybody's is going to have this like half moon with a line down, okay? This point right here is where you're going to put the vertex of the angle that you are measuring. Now, the people that I gave a protractor with like the hole in the middle, the bottom of your protractor is going to lie along the angle. So if this is my angle, okay, you would line up that half moon, and then the bottom is gonna line up with one of the sides, okay? Those of you that are over here that got one without the middle, you have your half moon up a little bit, and you guys have a line coming out from that. That's about, I don't know, 1/4 of an inch, if that. That line is what you guys are going to line up with the bottom of that angle, okay? So, here's our protractor. One thing that I just want to mention is that all protractors have 2 different like scales. One starts here at 0 and goes all the way around to 180. The other one starts here at 0 and goes around to 180. If my angle is this way, okay, then I use the small numbers. If my angle were this way and I wanted this, then I would use the small angles or the small numbers there, because I know that this angle is less than 90 degrees, because 90 would be straight up. Now, what do we use if our angle was like this? You guys all know 90 degrees is straight up, right? Isn't this angle bigger than 90 degrees? So when you're deciding which of these scales do I use, if it's bigger than 90, you're going to use the bigger numbers here. Okay, so you'd use the inside scale. Do you guys get that? If it's less than 90, it depends. You know, if it's less than 90 and you're doing this angle, you use the smaller numbers. This one was less than 90, so that's why we use the smaller numbers. Okay? Now, for this, do you guys already know this, that a right angle is equal to 90? Do you guys know acute means it's less than 90 and obtuse is bigger than 90? Okay, if you didn't know that, that would be something you could write in your notes, but if you know that already, that's perfect. So now let's look here, okay? So what these are asking us to do is measure the angle to the nearest degree, and whenever that happens, I give you guys a 5-degree window on both sides. So if the angle was 60, and you said anything from 55 to 65, I would count that correct. So the first one asks us for angles MJP. Okay? One thing I did not mention on the prior page is a right angle always has a little box in the corner. So that one has that box in that corner, so that tells us it's 90 degrees. We don't even have to measure it. So for this one, we can say 90 and that it's a right angle. Now, another thing that I need to point out here is if you have a straight line and maybe I'll draw it like this. If you have a straight line and this angle is right, do you guys know that there's 180 degrees in a straight line? So if this is 90, do you get that that's 90 also? Okay, so if I looked at this diagram, do you guys get that angle MJK would also be 90 if they asked you for that? Okay, I just want to point that out because that may be something that they ask you about. The next one asks us for angle LJP. So here, LJP. Does that one look bigger than 90? Yeah. So are we going to use the degrees that are bigger when we go to measure this? So if I go to and put that on there, did you guys get like somewhere between 110 or 100 and 110? Is that what you got? Would you say like 105? Something like that? So let's just say 105. And then do you know because it's bigger than 90, it's obtuse. So for that one, if you said 100, if you said 110, anywhere in that ballpark would be correct. You don't have to be exact. Okay. The next one asks us for angle NJP. So that's this angle right here. Okay. Is this one going to be obtuse or acute? Acute. And if I match this up, do you guys get like 20 maybe? Does that look right? 20? So anything from 15 to 25 would be right, and that would be acute. Okay? All right, now let's go down to this next one. And this says to measure AFB. That's this angle right there. Do you guys all get that's going to be acute because it's small? How many degrees do you guys think that one is? Is it about 20 or what do you think? 15, 20, 25, somewhere in there? Okay. Do you guys think 20 is a good answer? I'll just say 20 and acute. But again, if you put 15, if you put 25, anywhere in between there, you're good. Then CFA. CFA is this angle. What is that going to be? 90, right? Isn't, if that's 90, this is 90? So this one is gonna be 90 and right. Okay? Then they ask us for AFD, okay? AFD. Okay, that's that angle. Does that look bigger than 90? So do you agree it's gonna be obtuse? So when you match that up, do you get about 120 maybe? 120? Okay. Which would be obtuse. And then this last one is a little bit harder because CFD, do you have a question? Can I help you?
Nothing. Are you sure?
Oh, I see what you're saying. This one you want at the bottom here.
Oh, okay.
And then you're looking for if D would extend. Okay? Now, the reason this last one, CFD, is hard is you have to turn your protractor, okay? So CFD is this angle right here. When you do that one, again, that little half moon, that thing goes on F, and you can either do it this way, where this line would go up. So again, your little half moon goes here, and that bottom line could either go on this, and it would be situated this way, or you could turn your protractor. The half moon would go here, and this line would go up this one, okay? And if you guys did that, it's hard to do it up here because I make a mess. Do you guys get like 25 or 30? What do you think? 24? 15? Something like that? Let's just say 25 for that. But again, I would be flexible on that, and that would be acute. Okay, all right, so we're done with the protractors now. Let's go to our next page. All right, so we talked about congruent segments, and now we're gonna talk about congruent angles, okay? Do you guys remember what congruent segments were? It looked like this. Segment A, B, and then this is the congruent symbol, and then CD. That means segment A, B is congruent to segment CD. When you do angles, this is what it looks like. So first of all, when you're talking about the measure of an angle, you write it as the measure of angle ABC equals the measure of angle DEF. So these little M's we talk about all the time, they mean measure of the angle. So it's like a number, okay? Like it's 60 degrees. If I instead wanted to say that those two angles were congruent, I take the M's off and I say angle ABC is congruent to angle DEF. So this is referring to the angles, this is referring to their measures, okay? Now, I was telling you guys that sometimes you have more than one set of congruent segments. You can also have more than one set of congruent angles. If we look here, this angle has one arc, this angle has one arc, so they're congruent. This angle has two arcs, this angle has two arcs, so they're congruent. Later on this year, we're gonna talk about something called congruent triangles, and maybe this angle and this angle are congruent, so we put one arc in each of them. If this is congruent to that, we do 2 arcs in each. If this is congruent to that, we do 3 arcs in each. So you could have 5 sets of congruent angles, but you just keep adding another arc to it. Okay? Now yesterday we talked about a segment bisector, and I told you guys that a segment bisector cuts the segment in half. An angle bisector cuts the angle in half, okay? So if you had this angle like this, and I asked you to cut it in half, it would look like this, okay? And then this angle is congruent to that angle, all right? So these 2 angles are congruent to each other, all right? So let's go to our last page. These 2 questions are not easy, and the last, like maybe 4 questions in your assignment today are not easy. So if you have questions, don't be surprised. So what we have to do is go back and read what our directions are each time, because they're gonna tell you that at least one ray bisects an angle, and then what you're gonna do is go to that angle and show what happens. So here is what that says. KN bisects angle JKL. So it bisects this whole angle. To bisect means it cuts it in half. So this angle is congruent to that angle. Do you guys get that? So bisects means it cuts it in half. So angle JKL is cut in half. So these 2 pieces are equal. Then they tell us angle JKN right here is 8x minus 13, and NKL right here is 6x plus 11, okay? Now, if those 2 angles are congruent, do you guys get that that means they're equal to each other? So if they're equal to each other, do you get that I can just set those equal to each other? So I can say 8x minus 13 equals 6x plus 11 and solve that. So I'm going to bring my 6x over by subtracting, and I get 2x minus 13 equals 11. Then I add 13, and I get 2x equals 24. Divide by 2, and x is 12. Okay? So if we go back here, what did they ask us for? They asked us to find the measure of angle JKN. JKN, do you guys agree is this angle? JKN. So what we would do is take our x and put it into this angle. So the measure of angle JKN is 8x minus 13. Or it might have been easier just to look up here. The measure of angle JKN is 8x minus 13. And then we're going to put 12 in there. So the measure of angle JKN is, does anyone have a calculator? 8 times 12, what is it? 96, thank you. So that is your answer. Let's say, oh, you didn't subtract the 13. So it's 83? Okay, thank you. 8 times 12 was 96. Then when we subtracted, we got 83, right? Okay. If you were on your quiz, do you guys get you could put the 12 in here and check if this is 83 also? Okay. All right. 2 more. Okay. So let's look at this one. This has the same instructions as up here. So you have to look at this. This part, kids will come up to me and they're like, I don't know what to do. You have to look up in the directions and see what angle is bisected. So again, KN bisects this angle. So what that tells us is this is congruent to that again, okay? Now we're gonna label what we know. And what we know is that angle JKL. Do you guys get JKL is that whole angle? And that is 9y plus 15. So if I'm labeling a whole angle, that's what I do is kind of put my arc outside the whole thing and write that. Then they say JKN. JKN is this angle, which is 5y plus 2. Okay? Now, anyone see how I could do that one? Yes. Okay, so if we did that, we would be saying this whole thing equals this. Do we know something about this?
That's congruent to 5y plus 2.
Yeah, so if that's 5y plus 2, isn't this 5y plus 2? So now couldn't we say this plus this equals that? Okay, so let's do that. We're gonna go, and some of you could simplify this in your head too. I'm just writing it out for my notes. But I'm gonna go 5y plus 2 plus 5y plus 2 equals the whole thing, which is 9y plus 15, okay? Now, 5y plus 5y is 10y. 2 plus 2 is 4. And that equals 9y plus 15, okay? Now what I'm gonna do is bring that 9y over by subtracting 9y. And I get y plus 4 equals 15. And then I subtract 4. And y is 11. Okay, so now what do we do last? We look at what is it that they're asking us for, and they want us to find the measure of angle JKL, which is the whole thing, or like I said, it might be easier to look up here. So what we're gonna do is take the measure of angle JKL, which is 9y plus 15, and we are going to put our answer of 11 in there. Did you get 114? Let me do that. Okay. And then again, you could have put 11 in here and 11 in here, add those together and make sure they're 114. One last one. Okay, this one is saying, in the figure, BA and BC are opposite rays. That just means this is a straight line. Ray BH bisects angle EBC. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. EBC is this angle, and they're telling us BH bisects this angle. So this one's a little bit harder to see, but try to ignore BF here. This is congruent to that. And because those each have one arc, I'm gonna make these two arcs. So try to ignore BF here. This angle is congruent to that angle, okay? Now, they tell us angle EBC, which is this whole thing, is 31A minus 2. EBH, which is these two arcs, that is 4A plus 45. Do you guys get it? This is 4A plus 45. Isn't this 4A plus 45? So again, when you're doing these problems, draw that out. Otherwise, you're going to really struggle. Now, do you guys see that this plus that equals that? Does that make sense? So I can go 4A plus 45 plus 4A plus 45 equals 31A minus 2. Okay? Now, 4A plus 4A is 8A. 45 plus 45 is 90. And that equals 31A minus 2. Now, I'm going to bring that 8A over to the 31A because 8 is smaller. And I get 90 equals 23A minus 2. Then I'm going to add 2. And I get 23A is 92. Divide by 23. And A is, did anyone divide that? 4 exactly, okay. And then this one asks us for HBC. And HBC, if you guys look at the diagram, HBC is this. So you're just gonna take that 4 and put it back in there. So unfortunately, you guys are gonna have homework today. Just because my lesson was long, this would be 16 plus 45. Did you guys get 61? Okay. All right, so here is your assignment. And then again, the last 2-3 minutes, if you want to, you could take pictures of the answers in my book. And you guys have a protractor. You may want to do 30 to 35 right away. Those are the ones you need the protractor on, and then turn that in. And your quiz again is on Monday, okay? Yeah. Did you guys think it was hard or long?
It was long.
Long, yeah, I'm sorry about that.